Great. Okay, and now we're moving right on to Yvonne, right? Okay. Okay, she got out of order here, but I found her. Yvonne, how are you? Yvonne
I'm fine.
Clayton.
Hi, how are you?
Very good, thank you. Um, so you've been elected twice now, correct?
Yes,
Two different elections. This is your third?
this would be my third.
All
The,
right, okay.
the
Um,
first, the first time we had a 2-year term, and the second time we had a 4-year term.
uh-huh. And this one that you're running for now is another 4?
Yes,
Okay, okay, great. Um, there's been many accolades have been showered on you for spearheading the new affordable residential housing on the west side. There's a lot of articles that have been run. I found one actually from 2017 on the Asbury Park Sun um, that had some information on there about, it was actually the groundbreaking. So there was a lot of projection going on. So I thought a good way to start is to come up to date on what's happened since. The projects, of course, that we're talking about include developers, interfaith neighbors, and the Michaels organization.
yeah.
And of course, that was the rebirth of the Boston Way. Is that the way you described it, the rebirth of Boston Way, or
Oh,
Boston Way, the original, has been demolished, right?
okay. I'm having some difficulty
Oh,
hearing you, but
uh, like,
Boston Way was
yeah,
one project, and the other is the Renaissance,
right.
and they both broke ground around the same time, and they're both up and fully occupied.
Oh, they're
Um,
fully occupied. Okay.
yes, they are. And they're occupied with low, moderate, low, very low, low, and moderate income people. So it was an opportunity for everyone to have a place to live. And it's the first time that new housing had gone up on Springwood Avenue in like 50 years.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I am very proud of that. And that's really why I ran in the first place, because
really.
um, when I first came back to Asbury Park after being away, I realized that nothing had changed for Springwood Avenue and for the West Side. There was still this vast wasteland just sitting vacant. And the plans had been made. Previous councils had made plans. They engaged the developers. Things were ready to go. The only problem was we couldn't get the funding.
Uh-huh.
And we were
So
very,
how did you break that?
well, we just found out what was the problem. The problem with funding was we were considered an urban community. Our school system wasn't considered up to par.
Mm.
And there were just a number of issues with the state and with HUD. So what we did was we partnered with the then senator, and we partnered with her and with the developer. And it was a three-pronged attack. We constantly talked to HUD, we talked to CDBG, we went at them, and we kept filling out the applications. And we thought, all right, we're going to make it. The second round of funding, when it came out, it said, you're not eligible because you're an urban community. The next time it came out,
But
there
that's
were
isn't that 95% of the communities that need housing, urban
exactly,
communities?
exactly, exactly.
But they think a bunch of
That's
farmers were going to show up.
that's who needs it, and we were floored. But I have to give credit to Jennifer Beck. She
Oh,
went
okay.
after the state and she kept fighting, and she was calling on our behalf. And finally, it was a breakthrough. The third time we applied, we won.
Third
And
time was the charm.
the third time was the charm. And the
Wow.
first time we lost by just something like 2 points, because you gather points for different items. And it was 2 points. But it took another 2 years for us to satisfy the requirements and get it.
And was there one thing? Was it that the schools got better, or can you finger?
It was a combination of unemployment. And then the schools did get better, and the schools are getting better. And that was part of it, the ranking of the schools, the number of unemployed in the city. There are a number of different factors. I don't remember exactly. I think it was a total of 20 items that we had to satisfy. And each item was weighed with a particular number of points that you could receive.
And this was from the CB, the Community Blocks program.
Yeah, it was from HUD. It was HUD. It was HUD finance.
Okay, so it was their criteria.
Yes.
Okay, good.
The HMFA of the state, they administered the program, the Housing Finance Mortgage Administration, I think it is.
Okay. Now there's another project, and I couldn't find my notes in time to dig out the name of the builder, but his project is, I think, 108 units they want to build on Memorial Drive. Excuse me. And their lawyer had said at the council meeting that I think that may have been a Zoom meeting, but no, I was there in person. That's right. The lawyer had said that they would definitely have to have an agreement containing some sort of a tax abatement, tax exemption, or they definitely would not be able to do what they wanted to do, which they were going to go along with the 20%, our new affordable housing criteria for affordable housing. And but he said if they didn't get the tax help, they weren't going to be able to do it. So I'm just wondering, I have a question for Amy about this. The amount of tax exemptions and those deals that we have out there, because there are numerous. And I just wonder, what the status of that request is? Have we approved a tax abatement for that one?
We have not approved any new tax abatements.
Since
so I'm not clear on which building we're talking about. Because we have 3 possible projects on Memorial Drive at this time. One is on Memorial between 3rd and 4th. And that's where they're completing demolition. And he has not come before the council.
Oh, okay. No, this fellow, the lawyer.
And then we have the 2 projects here at between Cookman and Madison and Bangs. And to my mind, they too have not asked for a tax abatement. And what I will say is everything is a negotiation. And we're willing to negotiate, but tax abatements are not something that are being handed out as they were in the past. The city is not in the same position it was in the past. People want to come here. People want to build here. And we have a number of people who want to live here.
Well, I guess the big exception to that is the tax abatements that I'm told were given on the Ocean Club, the Ocean, what is it? The
And
Asbury Ocean Club. Sorry, Mr.
yeah,
Sugarman's
they were
building.
they were given a pilot, and
Uh-huh.
so they're
That's
so yeah, so they're paying the
paying in
taxes.
lieu of taxes.
Yeah, they are paying the taxes. In fact, when it's fully occupied, I think they're going to be worth something like $500,000 a year to the city.
But what is the
But
pilot that they're being given?
what they're not paying into directly are the school taxes.
Well, that's a big issue. Yeah.
No, it's not a big issue because whatever the school tax is has to be paid. And if it's not paid directly by the tenants or the people who are living in those buildings, it's paid by the city. And because we're getting the quote $500,000 from them, that enables us to now pay that back to the school board. But school taxes are going to get paid by the city regardless. So it's better if we have.
Well, the thing is, it's the taxpayers who are the ones that it bumps back to.
Yes, but if you understand how the pilot works, we get additional monies that we would not be getting if that building
Oh,
had not been
the
built.
property tax itself, yes,
Yes,
so that the city is whole. But the school revenues are not made whole, and
the school,
without increasing the taxes for the property taxes of the residents here already. And
but
because I did discuss this with both our previous tax assessor and the new one, so we went over all of this,
yeah,
and of course it's doubly impactful because it comes at a time when the state has withdrawn a lot of the funding that it was supporting our school system with. We
yeah,
lost
and
what, $5 million in 1 year.
I know, and that's a serious concern for us of how we're going to pay that. And the way we're going to pay it is through the new development that comes into the city, and
Yeah, well,
hopefully we don't want, the last thing we want to do is raise taxes. And we've been very fortunate in that we've been able to hold the line on taxes.
yeah, but I don't understand. The abatements and the pilot programs were supposed to be so that we would get developers who would develop where no one else would. And the property was supposed to be in a blighted area. And there's nothing blighted about the waterfront. I don't see how they ever passed that criteria with the Asbury Ocean Club.
It's not an option. It's part of the waterfront redevelopment plan that those buildings will get a pilot, and it will be paid out of the RAB fund.
The RAB fund.
The redevelopment area bonds. But we don't have an option when it comes to providing pilots to the master developer.
I'm sorry, we don't get a what?
We don't have an option when it comes to providing pilots to the master developer.
Well, let me ask you a question, because there was a meeting on the 9th that was held in the executive session to discuss an amendment to the redevelopment plan that involves iStar, structural, something about the infrastructure. And I was wondering whether that was new construction that was going to use, again, this bond that we have already floated, the $55 million bond that iStar has been using to replace the infrastructure in their various, I think it was the Monroe And oh, this one is going to be over in the what we call the trunk, the trunk farm, you know, where the telephone poles used to stick up from the ground about a foot, and it was this whole stump. We called it stump farm. Sorry. And I believe that that's what the site was that they were going to be discussing. But you probably were in that executive session.
Okay, if it was an executive session, you know I can't discuss it.
Yeah, the problem is though it's federal, it's taxpayer money though that 55 million is affecting. It's affecting our budget, our credit, our ability to get.
Our credit has never been better than it is now.
My
And
next question, yes, and we have 6 minutes and 35 seconds. What is our current rating now?
If
It's either Moody's or S&P.
I think our Moody's rating right now is we are AA, and that's the best that we've been in generations.
For sure.
And you know, and we're also very pleased that we were able to get off state aid.
Yeah.
And that's one of the items that really helped us to increase our credit rating and become viable to the bond market.
Yeah, well, we've been bonding for a long time. You know, we have $73 million now in long-term debt.
I don't think that's correct.
I actually have it right here.
But because our ratings are getting better and better.
There it is. 73 million.
Marina, I can't say that.
I have a copy I can send you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it sure does add up. But you know what? Here the total was on the next page. But yeah.
What has happened is because our ratings our credit rating is so high, we have been able to go back, renegotiate the bonds, and our bonds are getting lower and lower. So things are getting better. Things are better.
Yes, well, if you're a taxpayer in town, which you are, you know that those are going up. Okay,
Yeah.
So you know it's not rosy everywhere. You know.
Well, we have not raised the taxes, and
a little bit, yes.
we have
Taxes, sure. Trust me on this. But yeah, we have been, and I think that what Mayor Moore said was, you know, we're really doing well right now. We were able to do some shifting around, you know, so that we didn't get too big a hit when the school tax came in, you know, with that shortened $3 million to $5 million pullback in the subsidy. But he said in the future it's going to be tight, and you know, COVID hasn't helped. You know, and we still have yet to find out what it's going to look like in dollars and cents. So
this has been a very tough time with COVID. We're not getting the financing that we were in the past. We didn't make. I don't think we've made the money that we've made with the beach utility,
no.
or the parking utility. But we had to do something to support the businesses in town. And that's why we're not charging for parking. We didn't charge for cafe fees this year. We need to support our businesses so that they can do the best they can and try to keep people employed.
Yeah. The cafe fees, is that what they're called when they move their tables outside? Is that the cafe?
Yes.
Because it's an outside. Okay,
yeah.
Just to clarify that to the listeners and the viewers. I just want to check on our time again as well. Oh, we've got 6 minutes and 27 seconds. Isn't that more than what we had before? When you do this, I don't know whether you mean hurry up or you got time. We don't usually stick to the time frames like we're doing today. You know, usually have a luxury, but it's 7 people. It's kind of difficult. Let me just look here. If we could talk a bit about the West Side as far as who's getting the jobs, both the workers plus the owners of construction companies who are either, you know, the West Side or Neptune, because so many people from Asbury have moved over to Neptune. It's kind of, it's almost, you know, the bedroom community of Asbury Park.
Yeah.
But so you know, there are federal funds involved in these projects. As you said, you know, HUD really had to stand on our heads in order to convince them to take the risk, right? And they have a series of steps that these cities like ours are supposed to go through to make sure that the people who live there are getting the jobs. Companies belonging to those people who live here are getting the work, getting the contracts. And I'm sure that you've talked to Dwayne Small. He's had this issue a lot. But we have, you know, these complaints are supposed to be recorded. The city is supposed to be involved. When they're sent into HUD, there's a special section S, I believe it is, for these reports. And I'm worried because Donna Vieiro, our new city manager, has no records. So, you know, what happened in the past with the building on the waterfront was that there wasn't even a form from the city that they could keep track of who was getting the jobs, where the workers were coming from, what businesses were getting the sales. It was really, you know, kind of a, you know, smoke screen. They never had the intention of keeping that promise or making it real. So I'm concerned that Vieiro's office doesn't have these records.
I just didn't hear the last thing you said.
Oh, I'm concerned that City Manager Vieiro's office does not have these records, these employment and contracts are not being recorded or not being tracked.
And that is a concern. It's a concern for all of us because we want to make sure, and that's why we've set up, you know, you have to have a certain number of people hired. You have to hold employment sessions and advertise them so that individuals and residents know that these activities are taking place. We've also set up that you have to have a certain number of interns. And we've been doing this for some time. But what we can't do, and anything that's happened in the past, I can't change. Unfortunately, we have some issues with we thought that our city manager had done what was necessary, but we have a new city manager now. And
but she doesn't have it either.
But she,
apparently.
So she's starting from scratch, and she's starting from the beginning. And
how long has she been on the? Well, she was an interim, was it?
She was, yeah, she's been here since.
We are getting low on time. 3 minutes.
She's been in since November.
Oh, well, that's quite a long time. I mean, it's almost a year.
Yes.
September, right? So
yeah.
She should have been.
This has been the strangest.
Good thing she's not working for me. Okay. I'd be tougher. But so is that one of the things when you're reelected? If you're reelected, that you want to look at? Is that, can we assume that?
Oh, yes, you can. That's just
okay, good. And I wanted to, you know, I have to say, there were some Black veterans who were complaining at a council meeting that they were having trouble getting on, getting calls from Michael's, I think it was, the one that they were trying to get units, to rent. Do you know if that's been fixed? I have to tell you, I did apply to Michael's, and I also applied to Asbury Tower because I've had my house on the market. It's going to be a major motion picture when I went through, but I did. I signed up for these two. Michael's, they never called me. Asbury Tower has called me at least 3 times, and I keep going to the bottom of the list. But so I don't understand what the structure is for the city to follow up on that. And I know we talked about the other aspect of this, but there seems to be another gap there in information as far as who's getting in there, and make sure that there isn't any favoritism or whatever going on there.
And that's why, and that's one of the reasons why we have hired or hiring a new administrator who will be looking at all the housing in the city, keeping track of what we have, what is low and moderate income, and make sure that it remains that, and
Yes.
and checking on the landlords and making sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, and that our residents are protected.
Okay, I think is that our time up now? Okay. Oh, right. I haven't given you the opportunity to say what your chief goals, say 3 of them, are going to be for your next term of office, if you're reelected.
If
You should say that.
yes, if
I don't know who's getting elected.
Well, first of all, we want to make sure that the city is in a strong position physically, and that we can continue to do the things that we need to for our residents. An area that I'm very concerned with is still Springwood Avenue and the West Side. We need retail. We need commercial spaces. We need additional homes and additional housing. But what we really need right now is retail. We need a supermarket. The laundry, all of the different services that a community needs to be self-sustaining. And when you bring services in, it enables you to hire local residents, so they don't have to leave their neighborhood to go to work.
Okay. How are you going to do that? Is that included in the goals?
Well, one of the ways we're doing that is trying to get investors interested, because we're an opportunity zone, and the opportunity zone gives them certain tax deferments over 10 years.
Tax deferments? Is that UEZ?
No. This is a program put together by the Trump administration, and Asbury Park qualified for 2 opportunity zones. One, I quite frankly don't understand, because that's between Main Street and the waterfront, and the other is of the same corridor, but starting at Atkins Avenue to the Neptune border.
Seems like it left out Springwood. Oops, we have 9 seconds.
Springwood starting at Atkins up to the Neptune border.
Oh, okay. Okay. I'm afraid we're going to have to wrap that up now. But thank you so much. This has been very informative.
Well, Maureen, thank you very much for inviting us to participate. And this has been interesting.
Well, I wish we could do this more often, rather than have to call a communications officer and the security. Okay. It's only information, right? But it helps. You can't have a firm democracy without a free flow of information. True?
Yep.
We can agree on that?
We can agree on that.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Yvonne Clayton, and good
Thank
luck
you.
with your race. Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.